Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my music name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out my How I Became a Targeted Individual summary and or full story. Let me just scroll to them real quickly. So as you can see, I have the summary there. I know it looks like I'm on camera, but I'm not. That's actually a screenshot of a video that I had posted prior that got deleted. As a matter of fact, if you're new to my channel, please check out my update video first, and then check out my summary and or full story. The full story I am on camera, and actually it's a 7-part compilation with me basically just telling my life story. So not only am I talking about my journey as a targeted individual, which started in 2020, but I'm also talking about my life journey because I've been through a spiritual battle slash journey since my early 20s. So if you have the time, please take your time and make your way through my full story. You know, it's not meant to be watched in one full sitting. One full sitting. It's not meant to be watched in one sitting. But if you do have the time and you're willing, please check out my full story. Anyways, guys, I attempted to make this video yesterday and it came out way too long, first of all. And then second of all, the video stopped twice. So I ended up having 3 different parts, and trying to download it on Filmora was just taking way too long because 2 of the parts were way longer than I wanted them to be. So I said, let me just scrap those videos and remake it. So this video is basically just me talking about my experience as a female with Asperger's. I had a late diagnosis like most women do, and actually I haven't even had a professional diagnosis, which most women don't. You can even look up videos about this. Most women find out later in life, and it's from self-diagnosis. And actually, in my early 20s, I suspected that I had Asperger's. And I remember having a conversation with my mom about it, and never really looking further into it. So it is something that I did kind of start considering and looking into in my early 20s, but I never took it any further than that. I never took any tests for it. You know, I never dug any deeper than just the analysis of myself and thinking that I might have had it, you know, and watching videos. But recently, and when I say recently, I mean within the last few months, you know, like I think 4 or 5 months ago, you know, I started doing some self-discovery, looking into myself, learning myself, and I discovered that I have INTJ personality type and Asperger's. And again, I reiterate that Asperger's was self-diagnosed, but I took the exam. There are 3 different, basically tests that clinicians use to diagnose Asperger's, and I took all 3 and passed with flying colors. But today on camera, I'm actually going to take one of those tests. It's called RAADS. So I'm going to take that on camera with you guys, just so you can see that I'm answering candidly. And just you can see that test. You can see me on screen taking the live test. But before I do, I actually wanted to just share some videos with you and then kind of talk about how Asperger's relates to me and my writing. And how it helped me to learn more about myself, not even just my writing, even how I interact with people, just different things of that nature. You know, so you might want to look into this if you're somebody that's extremely introverted, or if you suffer with social anxiety, or things of that nature. You might have Asperger's. You never know. You know, and if you're creative too, that's also an indicator of Asperger's because typically we have a large imagination. Anyways, let me go ahead and share some videos with you. And again, too, I just want to push the female thing because females are typically underdiagnosed when it comes to Asperger's because they use a different standard of testing. Um, the standard that they use for men, in other words, they use for females as well. And females usually have different symptoms. You know, it presents differently in females. And so recently they've been changing up, things, thank goodness. But for the longest time, you know, it's gone undiagnosed in females, you know, and also too, females do something called masking. So that means that we're able to kind of mask or hide the symptoms, basically. Whereas with men, they don't do that as often. So anyways, I'm going to share some clips with you guys, and then I'm going to talk about it. I have 3 clips I want to share with you. One clip, it's about 6 minutes long. I'm not even going to share that whole clip. Another clip is about 10 minutes long. I'm only going to share 5 minutes of it. And then the last clip is 12 minutes long. I'm going to share that whole clip. And then I'm going to talk with you guys a little bit about my music and my experience with Asperger's. And then I'm going to take the RAADS live. All right, so the first clip that I wanted to share with you guys, hold on one second, is this one from Tony Atwood. And you can see it says Asperger in the feminine and comorbidities, right? So let me go ahead and share that with you. When I heard this video, I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. If this isn't me, I don't know what is, right? It's crazy how much I can relate to what this man said, right? So let me go ahead and play it.
If you are now very short of money, be sure to watch this video. Hello, do you need money?
Yeah, what's the matter? He's going to say, I know what I say, I know where I stand. I'm relaxed. Life is... As time goes by, I'm understanding more about how women cope with the being different. And what they may do throughout their life is try to cope with that difference. One is to escape into imagination. And so that person may not be valued and accepted by others, but they escape into reading fiction. And they're great readers of fantasy novels, and they write fantasy novels, and they have imaginary friends. They're not a problem at school to other people, but they realize if I'm not respected and valued in this world, I'm escaping to imagination, and if they're talented, they may do that as a writer, as an artist, as sometimes an actor. And some will develop the ability to act so well that I was talking to someone with Asperger's who is a professional actor, who said, in response to people saying, but you must be so anxious on stage, he said, no, I'm very happy on stage because I know what she's going to say, I know what he's going to say, I know what I say, I know where I stand. I'm relaxed. Life is predictable. So some may be successful in that imitation to make it a career, and they are born mimic. They have the ability to act the persona of other people. But what we have to do is see behind the facade, behind the mask, to identify who is the real person. So they can escape into imagination. They can use imitation and acting. They can be very well behaved so as not to be noticed. But in Asperger teenagers, there are two groups. One who are so good, so perfect, and they try not to get into trouble. And the others think, to hell, I'll change my hair, I'll wear piercings, I'll have tattoos, I hate the world. And there's, sorry if you can use it. If you have that in Italy, to the world. And they, as we say in England, go off the rails because they hate the world, so why should I be consistent? There may be ways of forming relationships with animals, so that they have lots of cats and dogs and horses and so on, so they relate to animals better than people. One of the things that the women with Asperger's can be very good at is very caring, and be in the caring professions. They can be very good with little children, or as nurses, and have an ability to show that compassion to others to a remarkable degree. In other areas, the women, I find, are unfortunately vulnerable to relationship predators.
Okay, guys, so that's it for that video. Everything he said I can relate to, right? Especially in the beginning part where he's talking about escaping into imagination. I wouldn't say this not being appreciated by the world thing, because like I said, before 2020, I've said this in my prior videos, I never felt ostracized or like the world didn't appreciate me. I mean, I did have a cyber stalking situation that I dealt with for a number of years, but still it was never this thing where it's like everyone is against me type of thing. That started like 3 years ago when I became a target. You know how that is if you're a part of this community. But before that, it wasn't more so feeling like the world is not appreciating me or accepting me, but I did feel different. I did feel awkward. And so escaping into imagination was a coping mechanism for me. And like you said, reading fantasy novels, being creative, being an artist, this is where my poetry comes in. I express myself through writing. I even wanted to write a book, Memoir of the Socially Inept. But not only that, I read fantasy novels. I've talked about this in several of my videos. I used to have boxes and boxes of books. As a matter of fact, when I left college in my early 20s, my first time when I went to college for the first 2 years, if you listen to my story, you'll hear that I did my first 2 years and then I took a break. Um, and then went back again for my last 2 years in 2018. But in my first college journey, when I came back home to this island, I remember that I lost all my books. I had like 2 boxes of books that I left up in storage with my sister. And then when I was told that the books were lost, I was so freaking devastated. But I can show you my Kindle. Oh gosh, I think I deleted it. Let me see something. Let me download my Kindle really quickly, guys. And I don't want this to be multiple parts. Not again, not again. This is what happened yesterday. So I'm going to download it while you guys are on here with me. The only reason I deleted it is because I talked about this also in my prior videos. I don't really feel comfortable reading my books anymore. You know what's going on with this program? It's like you have no privacy. I even remember just recently when I was trying to do security a couple months ago, it was nighttime. I was working the night shift and trying to read my book. And when I would get to certain parts, the ref campaign would start up. So you can imagine, it's just, this program really sucks. It's annoying and horrible. But I don't really feel comfortable reading my books at the moment. I am considering shielding and working on shielding so I could get my privacy back. But at the moment, that's not the case. So I don't feel comfortable reading my books anymore. All right, it's installing, guys. And typically, guys, I would have paused the video for this, but I'm not seeing that option. It's weird. My recorder is finicky. Like sometimes it gives me the option to pause and sometimes it doesn't. And I could stop and just make multiple parts, but I don't feel like the process of doing that and then, waiting for it to export from Filmora. My phone is extremely slow. So this is why I'm doing this on camera with you guys. So y'all can see my library, right? It's full of books. You can see the JavaScript. Remember I was trying to become a programmer a few months ago? I even downloaded a JavaScript book. I also had an HTML and CSS book, but I think I deleted them. But all of these books I paid for out of pocket. I paid for these books and downloaded them. I had some teaching books in there. That was from when I was teaching. This is just a small portion of my collection. Like I said, I had boxes full of books, and I still have some in person now too. So I love reading fiction and fantasy novels. So yeah, check for that. I definitely do escape into my imagination. I saw that people that had imaginary friends when they were children, that's also a sign of Asperger's. I had an imaginary friend. That's something actually that my mom was laughing about with me the other day, not recently. but like kind of recently, like within the year. I remember she was kind of talking more so about schizophrenia, which I absolutely don't have. Please check out the last video I posted. But this is more so what makes sense. Asperger's. So people with Asperger's typically have vivid imaginations, and this is why it's somewhat of a gift in a way because we can use it to be creative. Oh, and also too, I did start to hear Noise Campaign when he got towards the end where he was talking about they can be caring and be good with children. Because if you listen to my story and my targeting, it may come across like I'm this cold person. I've put up a shell as a way to protect myself from what I've been dealing with. But I am good with children, and I actually used to have a really good relationship with my niece, all of my nieces and nephews. But then when certain things happened, especially pertaining to my targeting, kind of put up a wall, and so that sounds terrible, but it's like I just feel strange with everything that's going on, and that's why I've been acting different. I can even show you a video when things were normal in my life with an interaction with my niece. I have two videos on what is it called? Dropbox. I don't know if I want to go through signing into Dropbox right now just to show you guys that, but things were very normal in my life. So I'm not gonna go through I actually had those videos posted. Those two videos got deleted. Actually, I deleted those. When all of my videos got deleted, I chose to delete those two videos too. Anyway, next video that I want to share with you guys. This one, and this one that says perhaps it's a gift. I'm gonna go about 5 minutes in and then start the video. I'm not gonna share the whole video.
10. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. In spite of his social difficulties, he was a musical prodigy and wrote his first music at the age of 5. As you can once again see, the interesting and unique way that people with Asperger's think leads to some of humanity's greatest accomplishments. 9. Blind Tom Wiggins. In spite of being blind, Thomas learned to play piano at 4 years old and became the best-known American pianist of the 19th century. Similar to Mozart, Tom's Asperger's helped him to hear and interpret music in a way that other people couldn't. 8. Bill Gates. Although it isn't confirmed, some observers have noted that Bill Gates very well may have Asperger's. His rocking back and forth, disdain for contradictory opinions, and legendary eccentricities all point to an autism spectrum disorder. In fact, these amateur observations have led many ordinary people with Asperger's to see him as a hero. 7. Charles XII of Sweden. As the King of Sweden, Charles was known for being stubborn, doing exactly the same things over and over and over again, and not feeling empathy for others. So, while being a scientist or artist with Asperger's,
Just to add into that, not feeling empathy for others, I actually just watched a video for a girl yesterday that was talking about that. I'm not going to share her video, but I do want to show it to you. So if you are interested in watching it, you can watch it. It was this video right here with the thumbnail that says empathy and it's highlighted in pink. And she's just explaining what that looks like for somebody that's neurodivergent with Asperger's. It's not that we're not empathetic, it's just that we express ourselves differently. And typically we are more empathetic than neurotypical people. That's the irony of it all. So even though it seems that we're not, because of how we act that way because we're more empathetic typically than others. Anyways, I'm going to continue with the video.
is cool. Being a king? Not so much. 6. James Joyce. James was a famous Irish author who was known for wearing an eye patch. His eye was damaged. He's also famous for developing the stream of conscious writing style. It's worth noting that although people with autism may struggle with expressing themselves to other people in person, they can be very expressive in writing. 5. Glenn Gould. The Canadian pianist and Bach interpreter was notorious for his love of routine. He would even use the same stool until it wore straight through. Repetition and obsession are two common traits of people with Asperger's. Stubbornness, which Glenn exhibited, would also be a symptom. 4. Isaac Asimov. The Russian-American scientist was famous for writing I, Robot. As I just mentioned, many people with Asperger's are prolific writers. In fact, Isaac wrote or edited more than 500 books and an estimated 90,000 letters and postcards. 3. Vladimir Putin. In 2008, a Pentagon think tank study found that Putin probably has some form of autism. They couldn't be sure, however, that it was Asperger's. They did, however, say that Putin's neurological development was significantly interrupted in infancy. 2. Emily Dickinson. Emily is possibly one of the most famous poets of all time, and given that she likely had Asperger's, you probably shouldn't be surprised at all. 1. Thomas Jefferson. Several leading psychologists have noted that Thomas Jefferson probably had some form of autism. Apparently, he was shy, had an inability to relate to others, and was sensitive to loud noises. He also had some...
Now, let me say again, it's not this inability to relate to others, especially as it pertains to women, because this is why women are typically underdiagnosed, because it doesn't present the same in us as it does in men, because typically we mask, because there are typically more social pressures on women than there are on men. So usually we can relate to others, or at least imitate, and not imitate, like that sounds bad, not imitate, but like literally emulate what we see other people doing. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean that because of course we're going to fly and run with that. I already started hearing the bird drone. What I mean is, it's not that we don't have our own personal feelings, but it's just that we don't know how to act in social settings. We're awkward. It's hard to figure things out. So sometimes we'll like study others and then emulate that. That's what imitate means. Not like no weird kind of nothing like that. You know, it's literally just focusing and trying to emulate what you see others doing in social settings because it doesn't come naturally to you. But you can relate to others. It's not that you can't relate to others, but you're just awkward. You're extremely awkward and misunderstood. And it's hard to, I can't really explain it. It's not like you totally can't relate to others. That's not the case.
relate to others and was sensitive to loud noises. He also had some strange habits, like keeping a mockingbird on his shoulder, perhaps to calm him down during social interactions. Unfortunately, most documents pertaining to his early life were lost in a fire, so it's not possible for psychologists to assess his childhood behavior for signs of autism.
And also that thing that they said about loud noises, I do have that as well. Not totally. Like when I was younger, I used to go clubbing and stuff. So it's not like that, like where I can't take loud noises. But I know, especially now that I'm older, I do have somewhat of an aversion. I'm sorry, I don't know what the heck is going on with me. I do have somewhat of an aversion to loud noises. You can listen to my story, you know, especially with what happened in the Airbnbs and, you know, when I left the dorm and stuff. I do have an aversion to loud noises, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep because I'm a light sleeper. Anyways, so those were the 3 videos I wanted to share with you guys. I'm just talking about this, guys, because you know how like in this program, everything you do kind of gets villainized or vilified and or impeded. And so I've talked about this in my prior videos. It bothers me. But literally, they've kind of had like this negative insinuation when it comes to my music, you know, like they keep trying to make it like my music is ominous or like it's, you know, I don't know. They just try to insinuate bad things about my music. And I've been doing it for years. And literally the only reason that my content is what it is now is because it's what I'm feeling now. It's a representation of my feelings and I'm dealing with this program. So that's what's going on with my music. And so this is why I just wanted to share this Asperger's thing, you know, because I've said it in several videos that I have Asperger's. But I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because it's like, you know, it's people with that disorder are typically misunderstood, especially women, because we seem more normal. So even though we do seem kind of odd, we seem more normal than men with it. So it's even more misunderstood in women. It's the weirdest thing ever. But that's literally been me my whole life, like escaping into my imagination. You know, that's why this program is torture for me, you know, especially when they start invading your brain. But I like to escape into my imagination and I like to use writing to express myself. I've been writing poetry for years. Let me show y'all a video. This video that says Say You Love Me, you can see it's 18 minutes and 47 seconds long. All of my other videos, music videos, you can see 1 minute 22 seconds, 2 minutes 5 seconds, 2 minutes 53 seconds, because it's literally just my poem that I'm doing over music. But with this one, I'm kind of giving like a little commentary in the beginning. I'm talking about when I was looking through my emails trying to find evidence to talk about that cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation that I dealt with in my 20s. And you got to check out my story to know what I'm talking about, and particularly the full story. I even posted a video about it. It's actually right above this one that says cyberbullying affects real lives. I provide the evidence that I found and I give commentary. So if you're interested in hearing about that, you can check that video out. But in this video, I was just kind of talking about looking through my emails for the evidence and coming across one of my old poems. And I also came across an old recording. And so for me, it was like a golden nugget because again, they try to insinuate these horrible things about my music, but the people in my close circle knows that I've been doing music for years. And so the poem that I found is actually a poem from early 2018. So before I ever recorded in a studio, ever, or even on BandLab, before I even had BandLab, I had written this poem and I just recently turned it into an actual recording. So at the end of the video, you can hear the recording that I ended up creating with that poem that I found. But then also too, I share a recording of myself from when I was in my early 20s. I believe I was like 20 or 21, around that age, not even, because my niece was born at the time and she sounded very young too. I was probably like 23 in this recording. You can even hear my brother in the beginning of the recording. And he sounds like a child. He's a man now. So it was a very old recording, but I was freestyling. So you can see I've been doing this thing for years. Anyways, let me go ahead and play it for you. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa. My music name is New Lily. I'm not gonna play the whole video, guys. If you're new to my channel, please check out. I'm not gonna play the whole video, guys. I'm actually just trying to fast forward to the part where I'm talking about the poem, because the beginning part I'm kind of giving commentary on some of the evidence that I found pertaining to that cyber stalking, cyberbullying video that I created after this one. Okay, this is where I was talking about the poem I found. That I feel got deleted. I think my account was hacked. But anyways, I found this poem. You can see it says 2018. This is all the way from April 2018. I just wrote this poem, right? So I used to just write poems and just send them to myself. I had them in books, emails, that's just how I am. I like. Now look at the wordplay. Now I'm not trying to like up myself or anything like that, but I'm just trying to show you that I have been writing this way for years, because they try to discredit you in this program and attack everything that you're doing. Even when I was trying to become a programmer, because that's what I was doing before I started doing the music again. I was all day long obsessively focused on programming and teaching myself JavaScript and HTML and CSS. And that was a problem too. Noise campaigns were happening, the current kept being taken, just all horrible stuff. And then eventually something happened that made the nano amp up or ramp up in my body. So I just gave up on that, and that's kind of what the program's designed to do, make you give up on everything that you try to do. So I'm like, no, you're not doing that with my music. I've always used music as a way of escape. Not even music, really. It was more so poetry. I was never somebody making music. I made poetry. I wrote poetry. And then sometimes I would like be on the side freestyling. But I was never somebody that sat there making recordings. That literally started in 2019. And it was a complete fluke. My brother-in-law knew that I was a poet. He knew that I liked to do freestyles on the side. Never recorded myself. And basically he does music as well. He's a rapper. And so he had some Hebrews coming down. We're Hebrew. You can listen to my story. I kind of talk about that a little bit. But we're Hebrew. And so some Hebrew guys from up north were coming down, and they were going to go to the studio with him because they knew he did music and they did music as well. There are a lot of musicians in the Hebrew community. And so I remember when they were coming down, they were going to go to the studio with him. And so he extended an invitation to my younger sister and I, because he knew that we kind of did like a little music thing, nothing major, never recording ourselves or anything like that. But he knew I wrote poetry and I liked rapping. And then he also knew that my sister liked to do like a little singing thing. So when he invited us to the studio, now again, this was 2019, mid to early 2019 when this happened. I remember when we actually went to the studio with these guys. There was so many of them, and then it was my two sisters, myself, and a few girls from the church, right? We went to this Hebrew church. we were all like shy, the girls. We're sitting there not even getting studio time, and we weren't fighting for it either. Again, this opportunity came out of nowhere. It was a fluke. And as shy and awkward as I am, i.e., Asperger's, I definitely wasn't trying to go into the booth. I felt very awkward and shy. So I remember, my brother-in-law even coming out and telling us, are y'all going to go in there? Whatever, whatever. And we kind of just looked at each other, the girls, and we didn't do it. So we never went in. And then literally about a month or two later, I remember that in the church, the same Hebrew church that we went to, a house full of Yahweh, these Hebrew Israelites in there made music. A lot of them too. A lot of them made music in there. Musically inclined people, blessed people, right? So I remember that they were good friends with my brother-in-law, one of the guys, and he was married. And the girl was friends with my sisters and I. And so again, knowing that he does music, he did that track or several tracks he did with those guys from up north. He basically started to talk to these guys in the church about the music he made, because obviously they followed each other on social media and they saw that they were rappers, they all did the same thing. And so this guy from the church was saying that he had like this makeshift studio in his apartment. He invited my brother-in-law to come over and make music. Again, these opportunities came through my brother-in-law. He was the one who was into recording and rapping and all that type of stuff. I just wrote poetry. I never recorded myself. I did, like I said, this little play recording I'm going to let you hear right now, but I never recorded myself in no studio. I just always wrote poetry. And so I remember when we went, because basically he invited us, my brother-in-law used to invite us everywhere. We went there, and also too, like I said, we were friends with the girl, the wife of this guy. We went there and we were hanging out. It was more so like a party vibe. It wasn't no serious major, like, yeah, we're making music type thing. It was like, that was like a little side thing that we're doing for fun, but it was more so like a hangout sesh. And so I remember after my brother-in-law recorded and a few other guys, again, the ladies were sitting there kind of submissively. And I remember my sisters kind of trying to say, okay, come on now, let's do this. Let's really do this. And my younger sister and I had written this song for the Most High. And so we wanted to record. And then I had a couple songs of my own that I wanted to record. So I remember that, after getting egged on and then me taking like 2 shots, I had to take 2 shots for courage. I ended up going on the mic and recording. And the guy that was doing it was a producer, and he was actually an experienced producer. One of those underground kind of experienced producers that have worked with some big names. That's kind of what he was. Not even major big names. When I say big names, I mean like local celebrities. So like, for instance, I don't know if y'all would be familiar with this person, but like an Iceberg. You know how Iceberg is big in South Florida, and he was also big in Tallahassee, but he never blew up. I think he was like a one-hit wonder or something like that. Those are the type of people that this producer that was in this apartment had worked with. So he knew what he was doing, is what I'm saying. So he was able to help me, guide me through, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I know how to rap. I have a cadence, but I didn't know how to do whatever it was that we were doing there at the studio. He explained to me what to do, and I did it, and it sounded good. Also, the recording that my sister and I did together sounded good. And so that was just that moment just then when I realized, okay, whoa, I sound good when I record myself. So not only am I good at writing, but I actually sound good on record. Cool. And so that's what that was. Let me play one of those songs for you from back then. Wait, before I do that, because I'm hopping all over the place, that was in 2019, like I said. So early to mid 2019. It was more so like mid 2019. I want to say like June, January, February, March, April, May. It was like May or June. I think June. May, actually. Because when I uploaded it to YouTube, I think it was June. It was like May or June, mid 2019, when I recorded for the first time. This poem in this video that I'm showing you that I found is from early 2018. So this is to tell you I've been writing poetry for years before ever recording myself. So let me go ahead and play it for you. Books, emails, just that's how I am. So you can see the wordplay, right? I said his skin was darker than the deepest sea. And by the way, this was kind of, I wrote this for my ex. But anyway, I said his skin was darker than the deepest sea. And then I said, hue so beautiful he could only be. And I spelled B-B-E-E. Obviously, that's not what I meant. That's a homophone. But I used the wrong B on purpose because it's wordplay. Then I said, he shared parts of him. I shared parts of me. And then I said honey. And that's a double entendre because I'm saying honey like I'm calling him honey, but then also like honey like I'm talking about, just that situation, right? So that's wordplay. And then I said, them in books. And obviously, too, the honey lines up with the word be. And then I said, love never felt this sweet. And honey sweet. And then I said, our hearts dance to the same wild beat, misunderstood, but together we found complete. Memoir of my king and me. So I'm just breaking it down to you to let you know that I knew what I was writing. I'm a writer. I like language and I like words and I like wordplay. And so this is why I like poetry, because I can express myself, but also I'm good with words. And so then in the next clip now, you're going to see me just sharing an old recording that I also found in my emails when I was digging through my emails. And again, let me reiterate, I was in my early 20s. My younger brother was a child. You can hear him in the beginning of the recording going, ha, 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 ha. He's a man now. So that's how old this recording is. That's to tell you I've been doing this thing for years. Emails, just that's just how I am. I like to write poetry. And so what I did was when I found this yesterday, I decided to turn it into one of my recorded songs. And so I did a recording. I actually like how it came out. And so that's what's going to be attached to this video. All right, so what else was I supposed to be showing y'all? Oh, I wanted to show y'all, I'm sorry, it's the noise campaign in the background that's throwing me off, guys. I know y'all can hear it. But this is what I wanted to show you guys. That recording that I found, that old recording with me rapping, and it was a freestyle, by the way. I've been doing it for years, and my family knows this too. But anyways, let me show you. You can hear my niece in the background. Where is it? Actually, I think she helped me do the recording. I think she was the one going, ha, 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 ha. I messed up in that, guys. It wasn't her. It was my younger brother. You can hear her in the background, though, playing with her toys. That's why I sound kind of distracted on the recording. She was in the background being very loud, but she was way too young to be going, ha, 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 ha. That was my brother. In the beginning. Where is it? Where is it? No, I think it's audio, not downloads. Oh, also in those recordings, guys, I was able to find the messages from Kadan. So basically, if you listen to my full story, I only remember because I just saw something that I had sent to him. But if you listen to my full story, you'll hear me telling... I'm going to fast forward through this part, guys. Again, that's just more evidence about the cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation that I dealt with in my 20s. And the only reason I started even talking about that situation so avidly or so excessively is because of something that I dealt with in the neighborhood that we moved from. Basically a lot of noise campaigns were happening over there in that neighborhood. And this guy's family lives in that neighborhood. That's actually the house where I met him at in person. And so, I remember even one time when they took the current, going outside and noticing that someone in my close circle was in the bush talking to his dad about the current being taken. And it seemed like street theater to me. I don't want to bear false witness. But I remember that setting me off. And so I went on this, you could say, rampage talking about that situation because it was traumatizing for me. For years, I felt like I was gaslit in that situation. I never spoke about it, never made post about it. I talked about about it to the people in my close circle, and I would show them the evidence of what was happening, but I never made videos and talked about it. I'm a private person. But now that my life is on display, and I felt literally upset about what I saw over there and what I experienced in that neighborhood, I started to heavily talk about it and provide evidence about what I went through with that situation. But I don't care to play that part right now because that's not what this video is about. So I'm going to fast forward through this part where I'm talking about Kadan. But if you're interested in hearing about that situation, please check out the next video that I posted after the one that I'm sharing right now. It's, like I said, called, it's called, sorry, Cyberbullying Affects Real Lives. It's the thumbnail. But it's called Evidence from My First Cyber Stalking / Bullying Experience. But that's not what this video is about, so I'm going to fast forward. Him. But if you met this guy named Kadak, where I sent picture to Facebook, old picture applied to an old this. But again, that's not video, but I'm just trying to show you. Okay, this is the recording. That was my little brother laughing in the beginning. He's a man now. That's how old this recording is.
Been the underdog my whole life. Now I'm rising to the top and I feel alright. Every struggle is a blessing. Every lesson is a lesson. I ain't stressing. Nah. Now let's begin to plot. Born in 91 upon a little rock. 7 of us in a little spot. 1 room, 1 bed, and a little cot. Now, that was a freestyle, guys, by the way. But what I was talking about was basically growing up. Remember I said I grew up in a very close-knit household? It was this kind of way where it's like my parents both had really good jobs. Like my dad was a welder and my mom was actually a dean at a high school. But we still always had very humble means, like we lived in like this, for a good duration of my life, this board house, and we lived off the land. It was almost like off-grid living. We had this big land with fruits and stuff on it, and we lived in like this board house, and it was 7 of us, my 2 parents and my 4 siblings.
So this is what I was talking about when I said born on a little rock. I was talking about the island I'm from, and you hear me say 91. All right, so I'm gonna stop that there, guys. Oh, let me just, for the sake of it, just so you can hear, I'm gonna play it for you, the recording. You've probably checked this out if you're already subscribed to me. But basically, I took that old recording that I had found from 2018, and I recorded it on BandLab. I actually, not recording, that old poem that I had found from 2018, and I created a recording with it. I found a dope beat with an ad lib that I felt was appropriate to the poem, and I created a recording. So that's what's in the next clip. I'm gonna go ahead and play that for you guys. 91. So that was a first. So it's kind of weird now that I found in my bullying situation from my early 20s. I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Peace out. His skin was darker than the deepest sea. You so beautiful. He could only be. He shared parts of him. I shared parts of me. Honey, love never felt this sweet. The beat that our hearts turn to won't deter you. This love is true, misunderstood, but we found complete. Memoir of my king and me. True love, what an awesome feat. All right, so that's that poem. I just created that 9 days ago. The poem was created again early 2018, but I just created that recording with that poem 9 days ago. Anyways, let me because another thing that's being said is that my flow changed. And that happens with most rappers throughout the years. Listen to Nicki Minaj. You know, she's definitely changed up throughout the years. You know, most rappers, anyways, a good rapper can change up their style, you know, and can be versatile. So I'm gonna play basically the recording, one of the professional recordings that I created in 2019. So one of the first professional recordings that I had. You know, this was one of the recordings that took place in that apartment with that guy from the church. My older flow sounded more like a Queen Latifah, Nate Dogg, old school type vibe. And my flow now, I would say, is more so sing-song like. That's the difference. But I even have recent songs that had the same flow as before. So I just have been changing it up and playing around with my sound. You know, I'm sitting here all day long twiddling my thumbs. Back then, when I was making music, my nose is stuffy. I literally had big people reaching out to me. I'm gonna show you in a minute. Give me a second. Let me just play this for you first. So this is one of my songs from back then. You can see it says 4 years ago. It's called ADHD. Obviously a play off of my ADD. I don't actually have ADHD. I have ADD. So it's the inattentive form of ADHD. I don't have the hyperness, but I have the attention deficit. You know, I have trouble paying attention, especially if it's something that I'm not interested in, like math. Those are the lyrics on the screen. I'm nomadic. Traveling in my mind is a habit. Back in school days, it was problematic. Teacher getting mad, yelling at me all emphatic. Had a sad look in her eyes, looking like it's tragic. Guessing she got tired of my blank stare. Trying to break my mold and figure why I don't care. Teaching false history, now do you think that that's fair? How could she really wonder why my mind was not there? My diagnosis, ADHD. Chemical imbalance, the lie that they sold me. Toxic prescription headed to my mother coldly. Man, I'm thanking y'all that I am not the old me. Guys, I know despite what this sounds like, I've not been a conspiracy theorist my whole life. Not at all. Like, really not. But around that time was like, I was heavily into holistic health, actually, since my early 20s. So I started to feel like, a certain kind of way about pharmaceuticals. And so this is why I was saying the lie that they sold me when I was talking about the medications, because I do feel like, I don't want to dig too deep with that. I keep putting my foot in my mouth. But I do feel like the best way to heal somebody is with natural medicine. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to go into the details about it. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think I've become one more so now with the things that I've learned in this program. But I haven't always been that way. Anyway, so you can see that was June 2019, right? So that's one of the first professional recordings I've ever done. I also wanted to show you my BandLab. Oh no, my BandLab is deleted. Oh my goodness. Because I was trying to delete, remember I told you I tried to make this video yesterday and I had like 3 parts? I actually deleted my BandLab so I could get more space on my phone, and I had planned to reinstall it. So let me do that really quickly. Again, annoying that I have to do that while you guys are here. I would typically pause it and do that, but it's not giving me the option to pause this time. And I don't want to have multiple parts to this video. So I'm going to very quickly try to download my BandLab. And the only reason I'm downloading it, guys, is so that you can hear my song Watchers. Because when I started doing music again recently, a few months ago, Watchers was literally the first song that I created. And you can hear that the flow sounds very similar to my old flow, my Queen Latifah, Nate Dogg type vibe that I had going on before in 2019. You can hear that the flow is a bit similar. It's more so like that type of vibe. And then in my more recent songs, I started playing around with my sound and doing more of like this sing-song type of vibe. Even my sister, my older sister, was actually telling me, and my younger sister, that they don't even like my new music. They like my flow more before, which is a matter of opinion. It's subjective. Opinion is basically just that. It's based on your own perception. So for me, I'm not going to say that I like my old flow more or my new flow more. To me, it both sounds good. They both sound good and I like both of them. I'm just playing around with my sound. Oh, I really don't want to have to sign into my BandLab with you guys on there. I'm sorry, I really don't want to do that. My goodness. I'm annoyed because they should have my password saved already. That's what's annoying me. But you guys can go ahead and go over to my BandLab if you care to and listen to my song Watchers. And you'll hear that the flow sounds similar to ADHD. And then obviously my newer songs are more so, like I said, that sing-songy type vibe. Let me play 18 for you. I miss age 18. Now I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Experiment. I need some space. Mosquito drones flying in my face. I'm caught up in a cage. Feels like I drank something laced, or like my mental was misplaced. The scariest thing I've ever faced. They said I was a disgrace, but I know it's not true. Life has turned to a different hue, trying not to rue. The only color that I see is blue, but nothing is new. Let me pause that part and explain, guys, because I heard them doing noise campaign for that part too, not just now. I mean, I'm hearing the bird drone since the song started, but they didn't do it just now. But when I said nothing is new, I was talking about this lesson. If you listen to all of my videos, you'll hear me saying that I've been going through similar experiences since my early 20s, which is why I think they're all connected and I feel like it's something spiritual going on. So when I said nothing is new, that's what I was talking about. Misconstrue, remaining sweeter than honeydew, fighting in lieu of a situation, trying to survive in creation. Take me back in time when life was just fine. I remember 18. Life was serene. Yeah, guys, so that's what I'm talking about. That's basically my music right there. Um Forgot what I was gonna say. What else was I gonna say? There was something else I was gonna say, and now my mind is going blank. That's annoying. Yeah, so they just try to insinuate, this weird obscene thing with my music. Obviously, it just seems to be something that they're doing though, because like I said, shortly before doing the music, the whole reason I even started doing the music was because I was trying to become a programmer and sitting there, applying to online jobs all day and creating a portfolio. As a matter of fact, check out my portfolio. This is the portfolio I created. If you click on in the description box, the link is there. Please check it out from your computer. I'm still working on the dimensions of it. What I'm trying to do is, oh boy, I'm forgetting the terminology now. Oh boy, what is that called? Oh my gosh, responsive. I'm working on making the portfolio responsive. So that means basically if you're viewing it from your phone, then it will fit those dimensions. If you're viewing it from your computer, it will fit those dimensions. But right now I haven't made it responsive yet. As a matter of fact, I haven't worked on it in a while because like I said, I kind of gave up with some of the things that was happening back then when I was doing it. That's what made me start doing music in the first place, doing music again, I should say. Because I was literally just sitting in the room all day losing my mind. And then I just felt like, damn, they're always watching me. And so I started rapping in my head and I said, let me write this down. And then I said, let me download my BandLab again. And I did Watchers and I just started doing poetry again. That's literally what happened. But it wasn't like I sat there and planned out to do music. I was trying to become a programmer. Actually, I tried to leave Ireland and I tried to relocate. I wanted to still teach. And I thought I could escape whatever this weird thing was that was happening. Got tracked down, stalked, whatever, listen to my story. Ended up back on island. So then again, trying to use my brain because I am somewhat of a go-getter. I started saying, okay, programming. I started to look for something I could do from the house. That was where my main focus was. That was my focal point a few months ago. And then, of course, that was impeded as well. And so then I gave up, and that's when I started doing music again. And now the music, seems to be some sort of an issue. Just like these weird insinuations. Check out my prior videos if you want to hear me talk about that. But that's why I said I would do this video, to again just validate myself, show that I've been doing this for years, and then also show that my condition, Asperger's, is partially why I'm such a good writer. But anyways, yeah, so check out that portfolio though. If you click on the link in the description box, you can view it. You can view it from your cell phone, but it's going to look kind of strange because like I said, I didn't make it responsive. So please check it out from your computer if you have the time and if you care to, and you'll be able to see it very clearly. And then at the bottom, I have my contact info. You can even check out my LinkedIn. You can see how I tried to hook up my LinkedIn. I had even created a Fiverr. I opened a writing business. I was trying to have my little writing business. I called it writesourcesolution, and I spelled it right, RIITE, like wordplay. And I was going to write papers for people or just, different things. It was like this little writing business I tried to open on Fiverr. That was impeded as well. Fiverr started shutting things down for me. Just, how it is when you're a target, right? So anyways, this is what made me start doing the music again, hardcore, because I felt like I didn't have anything else going on and I've just been in my room twiddling my thumbs. But I forgot what else I wanted to say. But around that time when I actually had the opportunity to pop, and I had the opportunity to make something of my music. I had big people reaching out to me, like this guy named Cool People from Miami. He had like 100K followers on Instagram. And then also this guy on my BandLab, I showed his message. What video did I show his message in? I think I showed that in my full story, if I'm not mistaken. Was it my full story? I believe so, in my full story, the 12-hour video. When I got to talking about my music and when I recorded for the first time, I was talking again about the insinuation about my music, and I was showing messages from my BandLab from all the way back in 2019 from this guy named Mob South G King. So check out my full story if you want to see those emails. I'm not about to sign into BandLab right now because I don't want to do that on camera. But basically, I still have that message from that guy, and he has, not no big set of followers, but he has a decent following. He has 8,000 and change followers, 40,000 plays on his music. He was trying to link up. I just recently answered his message recently. I didn't see it back then because I wasn't taking it seriously back then. I was working 3 jobs. It was shortly before graduation. I had 1 more year left and I had a lot of papers and a lot of like extensive classwork to do. So I didn't have time to be doing the poetry and the recording. That was just a hobby for me. Now I have nothing going on. My life has been impeded. So I have nothing but time on my hands. So this is why I've been sitting here making my music. I always feel awkward when I say the time thing because they're always telling me the clock is ticking or, insinuating that my time is running out or whatever, like the stuff they like to do. And it always makes me feel awkward. But anyways, so this is what's going on and why I started doing my music again, hardcore, basically. Just because I've been sitting here with nothing to do, and just having a hard time, dealing with what's going on with being watched on camera and the noise campaigns and all of these different things. The music is like an escape for me. And even you can even listen to my music and be able to tell that it's not something I'm doing to pop or for clout because the message, it doesn't even relate to the general population. Even someone in my close circle told me that. She said, your music, you need to try and make music that people can rock, people can listen to. And I said, that's not why I'm making the music. I'm making it as a release for myself or as an escape for myself. I'm not making it for the general population. If that were the case, then I would be doing that type of music if I were really trying to pop, like they try and, try to insinuate, right? The messages of my music, most of it, this is why I even had like the 9-part poetry breakdown series that got deleted as well. I'm not really sure why those videos got deleted. I could see why the last 2 got deleted, because I did talk about personal content matter in there. But the first 7 parts, I was just literally breaking down my poetry. So I didn't know why those got deleted. But that's why I did that, because they kept insinuating weird things about my music, especially my music nowadays. And really all it is that it's music that pertains to being a targeted individual. So the general population wouldn't blast my music anyways. First of all, I'm disliked. That's first of all. I don't even have a big following. Second of all, again, my music doesn't relate to the general population. The sound is different too. I think my music would be categorized as alternative. So even if I weren't a target, and I were able to make music that was more so relative to the general population, so I changed up my lyrics, it still would be alternative. The sound, it's not like mainstream sound. It's not like a Lotto or a Meg Thee Stallion type of vibe. It's not even like Lauryn Hill. Even though she had conscious music, she even had a more mainstream type sound. I don't. So it's just like, it's funny to me what they try to insinuate. So I just wanted to do this video and talk about it, and also just, again, go into details about what it feels like to have Asperger's as a woman and how it helped me to learn myself, and also to realize why I'm such a good writer or why I'm so awkward or why I might, have issues socializing with people, whatever. So that's something to look into too. If you're someone that, feels like you might have Asperger's, there are tests you can take. Let me show you something. Sorry about that, guys. I had to blow my nose. I just wanted to show you this video that says Autism in Woman, How My Late Diagnosis Allowed Me to Fully Accept Myself. And it's by Neurodiversity Foundation. Excuse me. In that video, she's talking about what it feels like to be a woman that's been diagnosed, late diagnosed, which is a lot of us, many of us. But then also in her description box, she puts the link to 3 different tests that are used by clinicians to diagnose Asperger's. And so you can take those tests to know if you have it. I'm going to take one of those tests that she had listed, the RADS, so RAADS, and you can just type it into Google as well, because one of her links were broken. So you can just look at the name of the test and type it into Google and it'll pop up. But I said I'm going to take one of those live tests on camera with you and answer candidly so you can see I have Asperger's, because that was also something they kind of tried to insinuate with the noise campaign. You know, like I was making up having Asperger's, when I know they can see as clear as day that everything that's being said lines up with my personality. I think it's just more so not wanting to validate again my poetry. I think that's what it's about. But anyways, let me go ahead and take the test live on camera with you. You can see I already have it pulled up. So it's RADS-R, right? Take test here. So I'm about to take the test live on camera with you guys and answer candidly. I am a sympathetic person. I say true, but I've had I don't want to say family members, but not just family members, like people around me say that's not the case. I'm going to answer based off of what people have told me. I think I'm just misunderstood, but still that would be good for me to answer how people view me, right? So I'm going to say, I don't want to say never true. I think I seemed at least more sympathetic when I was younger because I wasn't dealing with as many issues as I am now. So I'm going to answer true only when I was younger than 16. That's what I'm going to answer. I often use words and phrases from movies and television in conversations. You know, this is what I had a problem with the RADs for. It's like, it's black and white. It's not like they have sometimes. They have either true now and when I was young, true only now, true only when I was younger than 16, or never true. I mean, for me, it's none of those. It's sometimes. Sometimes I do use terminology from movies, phrases from movies, then and now, you know, when I was younger and now. So it's not that it's never true, but it's not true, like totally true either. So I think I'll say true only when I was younger than 16, because I would say I did that more so when I was younger than I do now. I am often surprised when others tell me I have been rude. True now and when I was young. You know, apparently this is why I said when I found out I had Asperger's a few months ago, I was like, okay, this is why I keep offending people and putting my foot in my mouth. I was like, yet another thing that helped me to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So that's definitely true. Sometimes I talk too loudly or too softly and I am not aware of it. Never true, at least not to my knowledge. I often don't know how to act in social situations. True now and when I was young. I'm very awkward. I can't put myself in other people's shoes. I've been told I'm not an empathetic person because what that statement is talking about is empathy. I can. As far as I know, I can. Again, I think it's just me being misunderstood. But to be fair, I'm going to answer true only when I was younger. I mean, true only now is what I'm going to answer. Because I know when I was younger, I seemed more empathetic. I think now with what I'm dealing with, I'm closed off. So it may appear like I'm not empathetic, but I am. So just to be fair, I'm going to say true only now. So now it seems like I can't put myself in other people's shoes. I have a hard time figuring out what some phrases mean, like you are the apple of my eye. Never true. I'm very good with figurative language. I only like to talk to people who share my special interests. That's not true, but some people like to make it seem that way. You know, like I don't, like I'm not able to talk to other people about things that aren't pertaining to me or the things that I like. That's not true though. So I'm gonna say never true. I focus on details rather than the overall idea. True. Now and when I was young. I always notice how food feels in my mouth. I'm going to say never true. That's not something that I deal with. I miss my best friends or family when we are apart for a long time. I'm going to say true only when I was younger than 16. And only because with what I've dealt with recently, I've completely isolated. And it's to the point now where I could live alone and be okay. I know that sounds horrible, but with what I've been through, that's just how I feel. It's not saying I don't love the people around me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that dealing with certain things has now changed me into this way where I could actually be isolated or by myself, solitude, and be okay. But when I was younger, definitely not the case. So I'm just answering candidly. True only when I was younger than 16. Sometimes I offend others by saying what I am thinking, even if I don't mean to. True now and when I was young. I only like to think and talk about a few things that interest me. I mean, that's what I've been told, but I don't feel that way. So I'm going to say true only when I was younger, to be fair. I'd rather go out to eat in a restaurant by myself than with someone I know. Never true. I don't like being by it's weird. I like being by myself, but I'm afraid to go out like into public spaces by myself. So I'll go out and get food and then bring it back to my car. But to go and sit in a restaurant by myself, definitely not. So never true. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be someone else. I'm going to say never true. I have a vivid imagination, and I even daydream about characters and imagine myself being that character. So I can definitely imagine being someone else. So never true. Because they said I cannot imagine what it would be like to be someone else. And that's not true. I can. I've been told that I am clumsy or uncoordinated. Never true. And actually, I heard that's a symptom of Asperger's. Not always. You don't always have to have that symptom, but that is a symptom that some people have. That's not the case with me. I'm actually athletic and I always have been very coordinated. So never true. Others consider me odd or different. True. Now and when I was young. The thing about it is when I was young, I think I fit in more because I played sports and stuff. But even then, when I was younger, especially after I left the first school that I attended, I do feel like I was considered different. Not odd. I don't use the word odd, but yeah, different. Different, you know. So I'm going to say true now and when I was young. I understand when friends need to be comforted. From what I've been told, again, no. I think again it's just a misunderstanding and me not knowing how to express my feelings. So I'm gonna say true only when I was younger, to be fair. I am very sensitive to the way my clothes feel when I touch them. How they feel is more important than how they look. Never true. I'm actually more into how the clothes look. And I know that that's a symptom of Asperger's, how the clothes feel on you. But I'm being honest, I care about how they look more. I like to copy the way certain people speak and act. It helps me appear more normal. True now and when I was young. You know, I do use imitation, like basically kind of like looking or sussing out how others act in social settings to see how I should be acting because I'm extremely awkward and I don't be knowing what to do with myself. And so through the years, I've learned to assimilate. It's not that I don't know how to be normal around people or I'm an alien. It's not that. It's just that I'm an awkward person and typically don't know how to act in social settings. So I will sometimes look and observe others. This is what I've done throughout the years and kind of emulate what they're doing so that I can get through the awkwardness. It can be very intimidating for me to talk to more than one person at the same time. True now and when I was young. I don't want to say and when I was young, you know, because actually when I was younger, I think I was more so social, believe it or not, especially when I went to my first school, you know, because I knew everyone there. I'm going to say true only now, to be honest with you. Well, because like I said, when I left that school in middle school, I really did have a hard, I'm going to say true now and when I was young. I have to act normal to please other people and make them like me. I'm going to say true now when I was young because again, assimilation and kind of feeling like if I'm awkward, people will ostracize me. Again, I never felt ostracized until 2020 when I became targeted. But even before 2020, I did notice that when I act awkward, I could tell that people noticed me acting awkward. So I definitely tried my hardest to mask that. So I'm going to say true now and when I was young. Meeting new people is usually easy for me. Never true. I get highly confused when someone interrupts me when I am talking about something I'm very interested in. True now and when I was young. And also I attribute that to ADD, which by the way also correlates with Asperger's, just so you know. Many people on the spectrum also have ADD. There seems to be some sort of link there. It is difficult for me to understand how other people are feeling when we are talking. Again, that's something I've been told, but I don't think that's true. I think I'm misunderstood. So I'm going to say true only now. Because when I was younger, I know it didn't seem that way. I'm just more closed off now. I like having a conversation with several people, for instance, around a dinner table at school or at work. I'm going to say true only when I was younger. I'm definitely a hermit now. And although I was shy when I was younger, I definitely liked interacting with family and friends, and I definitely did. So I'm going to say true only when I was younger than 16. I take things too literally, so I often miss what people are trying to say. Very much so. You know, oftentimes when I'm talking to my younger sister, it's weird because I'm good with words and language and writing, but I take things literally and at face value. It's to the point where my younger sister and I be having conversations and she's to go like, no, Reefy, that's not what I mean. And she breaks down what she's meaning and she's like, why are you taking it so literally? You know, I didn't even realize that was a symptom because when I took the test before, I didn't check that off. But then I started noticing, obviously, now that I'm focusing and honing in on having Asperger's, I started noticing that, wait, I do take things literally. So I almost want to say that that's true. I don't know. I'm going to say, you know, it's weird because like I said, that is true. With these conversations with my sister, she keeps telling me I'm taking things too literally. And then with my older sister too. But I almost feel like I don't know. It's weird for me because I think I'm really good with words and language. So is that this, you know, I'm going to say it's true. Screw it. I'm going to say it's true. True now and when I was young. It is very difficult for me to understand when someone is embarrassed or jealous. Never true. I'm pretty good at reading others. Some ordinary textures that do not bother others feel very offensive when they touch my skin. I do have a sensitivity and aversion to certain fabrics and materials, but I'm going to say never true because that's not something that really bothers me like that. I get extremely upset when the way I like to do things is suddenly changed. True now and when I was young. I have never wanted or needed to have what other people call an intimate relationship. People might think that way because I do have an aversion to commitment. Like I get claustrophobic. I don't know what it is. I don't know what causes that. I don't know what's wrong with me. But I do want an intimate relationship. I don't need one, but I do want one. So I'm gonna say never true. And of course there's no sometimes, so this is why I don't like about this test. It's very black and white. It is difficult for me to start and stop a conversation. I need to keep going until I am finished. I want to say true now and when I was young, because if I stop, I lose my train of thought. So oftentimes I'm accused of talking over people. I speak with a normal rhythm. True. True now and when I was young. I don't have the monotonous voice syndrome. The same sound, color, or texture can suddenly change from very sensitive to very dull. Never true. The phrase "I've got you under my skin" makes me uncomfortable. Never true. Sometimes the sound of a word or a high pitched noise can be painful to my ears. Never true. I am an understanding type of person. I am, although people might not think so, I am. So I'm going to say true now and when I was young. I do not connect with characters in movies and cannot feel what they feel. Never true. I can definitely envision myself being the character in movies. I cannot tell when someone is flirting with me. True now and when I was young. I definitely do have a hard time with that sometimes. Sometimes I can tell, but sometimes I really be having a hard time. I can see in my mind. I can see in my mind in exact detail things I am interested in. True now and when I was young. I keep lists of things that interest me, even when they have no practical use. For example, sports statistics, train schedules, calendar dates, historical facts and dates. True now and when I was young. I write lists all the time, and that was a big joke between my sisters and I. Like, oh gosh, refute her lists. I had books and books of lists. As a matter of fact, I met this guy from the church around the time when I was recording music. And I remember going to my sister and saying, oh my gosh, he writes lists like me. And I remember her cracking up about that because I'm always writing lists, big long lists too, about things I want to buy or things I want to do, how I want to improve myself, things I plan to do for the upcoming year. List and list and list. It was a joke. My sister even found one of my books with my list and was laughing. Anybody that really knows me knows that I write lists like crazy. So that's what's hilarious about that. So when I saw the listing, I was like, oh my gosh, that is definitely a syndrome, a symptom, excuse me, not a syndrome, a symptom. When I feel overwhelmed by my senses, I have to isolate myself to shut them down. True now and when I was young. And actually that's what's been so freaking um what's the word I'm looking for? So freaking draining about this program is I don't get that alone time to recharge. You know how introverts need to recharge and have alone time? You never get alone time with this program. Never true alone time. So it's been very draining for me. I like to talk things over with my friends. I used to. I don't have friends now, but I used to. So I'll say true only when I was younger than 16. I cannot tell if someone is interested or bored with what I'm saying. No, I want to say never true. Maybe I don't know. So I would have to ask someone. But for me, I would say never true. It can be very hard to read someone's face, hand, and body movements when they are talking. Never true. I think I'm pretty good at reading social cues. And I've heard that that's a syndrome. A symptom is not being able to read social cues. And I'm very good at that. So that's not a symptom for me. The same thing like clothes or temperatures can the same thing like clothes or temperatures can feel very different to me at different times. That's true. I'm always feeling extremely hot or sometimes I can feel really cold. So that one is true now and when I was young. I feel very comfortable with dating or being in social situations with others. Never true. I want that to be like a in between sometimes thing, but it's more so never true than it is true. I try to be as helpful as I can when other people tell me their personal problems. I'm going to say true only when I was younger than 16 because now, like I said, I've definitely retreated into myself. I have been told that I have an unusual voice. For example, flat, monotone, childish, or high pitched. I've been told that I have a high pitched voice. Also, nasally. The nasally thing has nothing to do with Asperger's. If you listen to my full story, you'll hear me talk about this thing that I have going on with my nose. It's basically like a deformity where my nostrils are smaller than the average nostrils. And so basically, when I was younger, my mom took me to a nose and ear doctor, and they were saying that basically, if I wanted to stop having a stuffy nose, I would have to get surgery. And my mom gave me the choice, and I chose not to get the surgery, just like I chose not to take the ADHD, ADD medication. I've just always been into the natural. I didn't want them going up in my nose and cutting up in my nose, you know? So this is why my nose is always stuffy. And this is why I can sometimes sound nasally. So that's why you'll hear me apologizing for that in some of my videos. It's just something I've learned to accept about myself. But that has nothing to do with Asperger's. But I do have a high pitched voice. I've been told that. So I'm going to say true now and when I was young. Sometimes a thought or a subject gets stuck in my mind and I have to talk about it, even if no one is interested. True now and when I was young. That's definitely true. I do certain things with my hands over and over again, like flapping, twirling sticks, or waving things. I do tap my hand, but I'm gonna say never true because it's more not true than it is true. I do shake my leg though. I have never been interested in what most of the people I know consider interesting. I almost want to say that that's true, you know, but there are things that other people are interested in, people I know that I'm interested in, but I do typically have an eclectic taste. So like a broad range of things I'm interested in, and also an eccentric taste. I do have like, even with music, like I like alternative music. I don't know. I almost want to say, I'm going to say it's more true than it's not true. I've never been interested in what most of the people I know consider interesting. I would say it's more true than not true. I'm considered a compassionate type of person. You know, again, this is where I'm misunderstood, but I'm going to go off of what people tell me and say never true. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm going to say true only when I was younger, because I know when I was younger, I definitely seemed more compassionate than now. Now again, with what I'm dealing with and stuff, I've kind of retreated into myself. I get along with other people by following a set of specific rules that help me look normal. True. Now and when I was young. It is very difficult for me to work and function in groups. You know, it's true, even though on when it comes to working a job, like on a team, I can force myself to do it and do a good job. But it is difficult for me because I have social anxiety. So true now and when I was young. When I am talking to someone, it is hard to change the subject. If the other person does so, I can get very upset and confused. I'm going to say never true because it's more not true than it is true. Sometimes I have to cover my ears to block out painful noises. Not true. That's the thing. I don't really have sound sensitivity like that. For me, it's more so at night. Like loud noises can bother me. Listen to my story. But it's not to the point where it's like sound sensitivity to where I'm out and I have to cover my ears and my ears are hurting. That's not the case. I can chat and make small talk with people. I don't want to say never true because I can force myself to do it, but I suck at it. I'm really bad at small talk. It's again a part of me being socially inept. So I'm gonna go with never true because it's more so not true than it is true. Sometimes things that should feel painful are not. For instance, when I hurt myself or burn my hand, never true. I actually have an aversion to pain. I'm not good. I don't have a high pain tolerance. When talking to someone, I have a hard time telling when it is my turn to talk or listen. I almost want to say it's true because both sisters are always telling me I'm cutting them off. So I'm gonna say it's true. I am considered a loner by those who know me best. True. Now and when I was young. Because even when I was younger and I had friends, I was still more so of a loner. You know, I like alone time. I like to be in solitude. I want to say true only now though, because even though when I was younger I was the loner type as well, I at least had friends. You know, things were normal. So I'm gonna say true only now. I usually speak in a normal tone. True. True now and when I was young. I like things to be exactly the same day after day, and even small changes in my routines upset me. That is true. I do not like surprises or change. How to make friends and socialize is a mystery to me. True now and when I was young. I almost want to say true only now though. It was hard for me when I was younger, but I feel like as I've gotten older, especially with certain, you know, situations I've dealt with, it's gotten harder for me now. You know, I think when I was younger, I'm gonna say true now and when I was young. It calms me to spin around or to rock in a chair when I'm feeling stressed. I like to shake my leg, but I'm gonna say never true. I do like to shake my leg, but I'm gonna say never true. The phrase he wears his heart on his sleeve does not make sense to me. Never true. I know what that means. I'm good with figurative language. If I am in a place where there are many smells, textures to feel, noises, or bright lights, I feel anxious or frightened. I do have social anxiety. So this is an interesting one. I do feel anxious and frightened when I go into crowds and stuff, but the whole textures and smells isn't really a thing. It's more so the noises and the people around me that make me feel anxious. And it's not just about me being a target either. That's always been the case. I have social anxiety, which is also why I started looking into Asperger's when I was younger, because I realized something was wrong. You know, I feel very uncomfortable in social settings. So I'm going to answer this one as true now and when I was young. I can tell when someone says one thing but means something else. True now and when I was young. I'm good at reading between the lines. I like to be by myself as much as I can. True now and when I was young. I keep my thoughts stacked in my memory like they are on filing cards, and I pick out the ones I need by looking through the stack and finding the right one, or another unique way. True now when I was young. I even wrote the song Memories. Go over to my BandLab if you'd like and check it out. By the way, guys, all of my poems that are posted on my YouTube, in the description box and in the comment section, I put a link to my BandLab. So if you want to check out all of my music, because not all of my music is posted on YouTube, you can click on that link and go check out my BandLab if you want to. Anyway, definitely true though. If you listen to my song Memories, you can literally hear me saying that my memories are filed away. The same sound sometimes seems very loud or very soft, even though I know it has not changed. Never true. I enjoy spending time eating and talking with my family and friends. I'm going to say true only when I was younger than 16. It's actually, that's not even correct, because I would say true before 2020. Before I became targeted, I didn't mind sitting with family and eating, but now I feel so awkward. So it's not all the way back to 16, but it's not now, you know? So the closest thing to me answering accurately would be me answering true only when I was younger than 16. I can't tolerate things I dislike, like smells, textures, sounds, or colors. I'm going to say true now and when I was young. Like the smell of the bathroom makes me feel so nauseous. I cannot stand it. And this is partially why I needed to leave the dorms. I don't like to be hugged or held. This is a hard one because I'm not like the huggy, touchy, feely type, but I do at the same time sometimes, especially when I'm in a relationship, like it depends. It's hard to explain. I'm not like the huggy type. I'm not, but sometimes I do like hugging and stuff. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I would answer for that one because it's not a straight true and it's not a straight not true. I think it's more not true than it is true. That's a hard one. When I go somewhere, I have to follow a familiar route or I can get very confused and upset. I'm going to say never true. I can get confused and stuff, but it doesn't have to be a familiar route. It is difficult to figure out what other people expect of me. True now and when I was young. I'm not going to say when I was young. I'm going to say true only now because I think now I'm very confused by what's wanted of me or expected of me. I don't understand. So I'm going to say true only now. I didn't have that issue when I was younger. I like to have close friends. I'm going to say true only when I was younger than 16. People tell me that I give too much detail. True now and when I was young. When I was younger, there was this big joke. I remember when I was a kid in private school, I used to actually dig the dandruff out of my elementary school teacher's head. And I used to run my mouth. I used to be telling my parents' business, and it got to the point where she went back and told my mom some stuff that I told her. And my mom was telling me that I had a big mouth. It was hilarious. But even now in this situation, it's crazy because I'm actually a closed book, believe it or not. Typically, I don't make videos. Actually, my sisters used to joke about the fact that I'm like a rock. It's like getting information out of me is like trying to squeeze water out of a rock. But at the same time, when I do get to talking, I do give too much details. Like, even with that guy that cyberstalked and bullied me, that created that situation, even with him, like, I ran my mouth. Like, it almost felt like I had diarrhea of the mouth, the way I kept running my mouth, And so when I get comfortable with a person, I can really run my mouth, too much. Or even like in these videos, when I'm trying to tell my story, I sometimes tend to give too much details. So that's definitely true. I am often told that I ask embarrassing questions. Never true. I tend to point out other people's mistakes. True. I can be real about that. True now and when I was young. That's a negative aspect of myself that I'm working on. That's true though. Score. But even for myself, I point out the negative in me too. That's just a bad habit of mine. So my score, and yesterday when I took this test, I actually got a higher score. I got a 149. So today I got a 129. I don't know what I answered differently, but I answered candidly. All right, so it says, what do my scores mean? A score 25, you are not autistic. A score 50, some autistic traits, but likely not autistic, yet some autistic people's score is low as 44. 65, the minimum score at which autism is considered. 90, strong indications of autism, although non-autistics may score as high. 130, the mean score of autistic people, strong evidence for autism. So I'm basically at 130. I got 129. And actually, when I took the test yesterday, I got 130. So I'm not even sure what I answered differently, but y'all could hear I answered candidly. I mean, the reason I started giving y'all details as I was answering is just so you could know I was answering honestly. This is why I purposely gave details as I answered. So 129, we'll work with that. But you can see that that's the mean score. So basically, I'm autistic. But the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. Um, so self-diagnosis, I have autism. I don't need the professional diagnosis. The proof is in the pudding. But I would like to get a professional diagnosis as well, just to have that validation. I mean, it's not like it's a badge of honor to have Asperger's, but it does explain a lot of what I've gone through. And it also explains why I'm such a good writer. It does make sense to me. I always knew that it had to do with me being socially inept and the fact that I don't socialize with people. So I do express myself through writing. And anybody that truly knows me knows that. When I was younger, my mom was even privy to the fact that I wanted to write a book called Memoir of the Socially Inept. I was thinking about writing a book in my early 20s to talk about my trouble with socializing and my social anxiety. But anyway, so the proof is in the pudding. I answered all of those questions very honestly, very candidly, and I even gave backdrop story as I answered to prove that I'm answering candidly. And I even purposely answered honestly with things that would actually have helped me, if I had answered incorrectly. So the proof is in the pudding, guys. I'm autistic. I have Asperger's. Anyways, I just wanted to take that test on camera just for documentation. And then also too, just wanted to talk about, like I said, my experience with Asperger's and how it's more of a blessing than a disability, because it's like a gift. It helps me with my writing. That's why I'm such a good writer. And it also helps me be unique and stand out from the crowd. So I look at it as a good thing rather than a negative thing. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace out. I really hope this video wasn't too long, man. Y'all know I be trying to make these videos short. 125. Okay, that's not too bad. Yesterday's video was like 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and it was multiple parts too. So this is a lot better. Anyway, talk to y'all in the next one. Peace out.